Good morning. Have you ever read Jack Kirby's The New Gods? Don't line out. Everybody talks about it. Everybody loves it. Ain't nobody read it. We did the homework for you. We're going to break it down this morning on Comic Book Clobberin Time. You know what time it is.
It's Clobberin Time!
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We've got Discovery Bay is hanging out. He's here with us this morning. I've got my pal, Coach Vic, as usual. And we've also got Al Shell hanging out. We're going to break down the New Gods. How you doing, Al?
I'm doing great. You see my pupils in there? That's how wired I am for Kirby, man. Look at that. Whoa.
Got the ring light working for you?
Yeah. Get that ring light.
There's a football coach that had to have in their press conference.
What's that?
The ring lights were in their reflecting their eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Making it look earlier than they
Can
were.
I start off by saying I was right? My Super Bowl pick was right. Tom Brady won.
Mine was too.
Brady won, Vic.
Well, hold up. The defense won, but yeah, Brady.
What? Come on. That don't matter. It's Brady.
Brady.
Everybody's saying Brady wasn't going to do it again. It was everybody else.
The defense shut down the number one offense in the history of the world since the greatest show on turf.
Where's my Drake meme where I'm like, no.
I have to admit,
No.
the whole trip was excellent passes that just weren't caught.
What about the Superman pass?
I know, right? Yeah.
He's parallel.
Mm-hmm.
Hit Tyreek Hill.
What's the common denominator, Vic, of all those victories that he's had at the Super Bowl? What's the common denominator? Him?
No.
Brady?
Gronk.
Tom Brady?
I watched the Super Bowl where my Seattle Seahawks were battling the New England Patriots, and Tom Brady did not have anything to do with whether that game was lost or won.
No.
It was.
He's Mojo. He's Mojo, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Go.
One man.
Belichick
Against the world. You understand me?
Brass cojones saying, "I'm going to let these people screw it up," and they did, and that's how the Seahawks lost that Super Bowl.
You got Marshawn Lynch. I mean, his quote is, "I run through their face." So we're gonna throw the ball.
All right. Well, enough of the sports ball talk. Let's talk about what we came to cover, and that is
New guy. Oh no, yeah, New Gods, right?
Yeah, you got the book, right?
Ooh, yes, my baby.
Really? So
I mean, I got issues, but I like it.
Okay, so let's go over the kind of our experiential history of it. I've read the issues as I've picked them up. So I picked up the New Gods #1 about a year ago, picked up #2 between now and then just recently picked up the rest. So it's relatively fresh to me. I know the characters, I'm familiar with them, but for the majority of my life, I've not been real familiar with what the actual work was. Al, you've had a little bit more. You've taken it more seriously along the way, and you've read it. Well, I'll let you talk. What's your experience with the New Gods?
New Gods. Well, when I was a brash young man, I hated Kirby. Okay, I hated Kirby, but I love DC, and I would get the Who's, and I would get all those, and I'd like read up on it. But I never read the books. I was familiar with the characters because of Superpowers, and then Crisis on Infinite Earth.
The Superpowers is the cartoon that aired in the early 80s.
Yes, but it was a toy line, but it was also a comic book that Kirby had a lot to do with. Yeah, but then, of course, as I got older and more, and we'll just say wiser, I now I love the Kirby style and everything that he's brought to us. All the mana from Kirby that he's given us.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically my experience with the new guys was through Who's and other books, not their own book.
Right. Yeah, the first time I really kind of got captivated by them was in Cosmic Odyssey. That's kind of the first place that I really made a connection with the characters.
I'll get on that. We'll talk about Cosmic Odyssey because I tell you what, after reading these books again and thinking about how DC has treated the Fourth World, I don't think Orion is anybody's favorite. I don't think there's anybody in DC that writes the DC books that loves Orion at all. Everybody trounces on Orion. Everybody treats him like he's actually just the dumb, like, oh, good blood. Like he's Wolverine in the middle of a Berserker Fury or something all the time. Because in Cosmic Odyssey, he's getting off on killing all the Thangarians and stuff. He's like, you just do it, brother. You know, and it's like, the beginning of the books, to me, he seems more like a returning vet, okay? Like a guy that's seen war, and he's coming in and like Light Ray's, we'd probably get into this, but Light Ray's like, hey, how you doing, buddy? And it's just like, I haven't seen you. It's a before and after. It's like, before I go to war, me and you, we're going to go out party and all that stuff. And now that I've been to war, I'm back. Like, dude, I've seen some stuff. My life's different now. You're a kid. I've seen, you know what I mean? You kind of get that feeling. Anyways, we'll get into that. But
yeah, I definitely want to get back to that. That's a really great point. So, Coach Vic, you're new to comics kind of in general.
Mm-hmm.
So what had you heard or what did you know about the New Gods before you started reading it?
Well, what was it, about a year ago when we did the trivia stuff? I had to answer questions about Kirby. I learned all about the Fourth World then. Then I forgot about it like 2 weeks later.
Come on, ask me about Milestone. I'm sure I can remember some of it.
What's Stag Shock's name? That's the easy one.
Oh, geez, I forgot.
But Virgil Hawkins, by the way.
It's gotta be Jamal something, right?
Jamiroquai.
Well, I know Virgil Hawkins is named after Virgil Hawkins.
He is. Never mind. We're on New Guys, and I just keep hearing everybody talk about how amazing Jack Kirby is and how the New Guys should be made into a movie only if they can be done right, and that's all that stuff, and how Darkseid's gonna be the big bad, but Darkseid is from the New Gods. And from what I understand about the New Gods, and well, all of them. Oh, are the bad guys New Guys too? Am I getting ahead of the game?
They're all the New Gods.
Yeah, I think pretty much all the characters within the Fourth World are considered the New Gods, in my opinion.
Okay, so Darkseid
it's like Masters of the Universe.
What's that?
Darkseid can't be killed.
Not so far.
Orion can't be killed. What happened to the old gods? Who are the old gods?
Well, they were just kind
It
of.
says in the first book.
Yeah, the beginning of the first book. It's just like the old gods died and the new gods replaced them.
Man, Kirby knows how to write a backstory.
The old
Oh,
gods.
man, whoa, wait a minute.
The old gods
talking about writing a backstory.
are
You want to get? Go ahead.
The gods that man created, like the Greek gods and the Thor. What is it? The
Greek gods.
well, they're not the Greek.
Well, Thor's not. Yeah.
Norse gods. Yeah.
So, well, I don't want to get ahead of us.
I mean,
I have questions.
It really was Kirby kind of expanding on, essentially when he was doing the Thor book, he got to the point where he was like, Stan, I want to kill off all of the Asgardians and introduce new gods into the book. And Stan said, no, you can't. And so he carried those ideas over to this.
So he left. Okay.
That's some of the kind of the conjecture, the history that I've read.
Is this fact? Are you making this up?
Wait, say that again?
Where have you heard this? Where did you hear that?
Where have I heard that? I don't know. I've read books.
Yeah, you're right.
Wikipedia. That's where I heard it.
Me read books sometimes. That's
No,
what that came up. Me read books.
I mean, Mark Evanier was one of his assistants and is kind of the
Right.
go-to historian on Jack Kirby, and I probably read it in his book.
I don't remember reading that in King. I have to read up on King of Comics again. So.
Yeah. Gore Vidal is here. So you got to say he's got Walt Simonson's Orion, which ran about 25 issues. The backup story by Frank Miller, Chaikin and others, is a great companion of the Fourth World.
Yeah,
Unfiltered war like the Iliad.
I'll get on top of that because there's a section, even though I love Don Newton, there's a whole section after Kirby left that they brought. It was the Return of the New Guys. I can't look at that because it's superhero dribble. But John Byrne, Walt Simonsons, and all those guys brought it back in like the 90s. I actually found an old issue of it. And I was like, yeah, it's very Kirby. I mean, there's some designs in there that I'd be like, meh, Kirby wouldn't have done that. But they even had a backstory. They showed back. They had like the main story, and then they did like they explained, even though you're not supposed to, they explained Darkseid and all that stuff. Where it was, where it had an actual like Infinity Man from the Forever People is actually Darkseid's brother that he kind of betrayed. So. There's a lot of good backup stories that companion pieces. I'd be like, yeah, I could see this fitting. I could see Kirby doing this. Whereas a lot of other stuff, like I hate to say it, if they ever make a movie of New Gods, which I think would be a mistake, I think it's going to be them walking around in street clothes. It's going to be 2 hours of Orion's Gang. That's what it's going to be. And
Do that too.
Kirby got tired of that, as we'll talk about.
All right.
Now, yeah.
AC Kirby is the greatest of all time.
Okay, so he said that, so I'll ask.
Mhm.
So I know you talked about was it a Kirby School of Art or something like that?
That's the Cooper.
Joe Cooper.
Well, I thought you said everybody learned how to write, do art in Kirby style, or is that somebody else's style?
Okay, so Kirby kind of set the standard for this is what comic book art can be, and a lot of people would go on to emulate him, but there wasn't ever any real super formal.
Okay, so it wasn't like a warehouse of people that had to do his stuff in his style.
No, I mean he did train other artists, but
Okay.
it wasn't as much like a teacher-student relationship. It was more of experienced professional kind of coaching a young
Okay.
professional.
Well, did he do that with storytelling?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much Kirby's style. It became the Marvel way. If you ever heard of the Marvel way, it's where he draws a picture and then like there's action in that picture, but then there's no like there. You know how comic books today have moment to moment, where it's like they're drawing a film. Okay, they're drawing a film and it's each sequential is the next move. Kirby didn't do that. Kirby went from, and then the next one is a dude getting like a big blast or something. But in between those, he'll fill it in with dialogue where he's like, oh, and then the crash of thunder. So he explains it to you like a radio show. That's what the Marvel way is. More like you could read it or hear it and he describes it all to you. If you read this is the way I was reading it, was like, and then the thundering crackle of Orion's fists crashed down like a cosmic hammer. So it's very radio show. You kind of get that. That's Kirby's way, his storytelling, and that's where he says that people emulate him. They did. There's people that picked up stuff and like tried to do that. I mean, even Buscema and Ramita and all those guys were kind of like, well, let's do some fat muscles here, but then they were more. I'd say they were smoother, where Kirby was jagged sometimes. But anyways, the Kirby way, which is actually the Marvel way, they just like everything else, they took Kirby's name off of it and put Marvel over it. Or Stan Lee's name over it, which way you want to look at it. By Stan Lee, not Jack Kirby.
Legion says Stan's dialogue would carry the story moment to moment back in the day, and then he says Stan would give you a play-by-play of every panel. So much dialogue in there.
But this proves that Kirby, I don't think he needed too much. I'm sorry, Stan. I love you, bro. But he was doing his own thing, man. And you showed us that. He was doing Thor. It was like a Loki page or an Avengers page. And he wrote in the stuff. And some of the dialogue he had, a little bit better than what was put in.
Mm-hmm.
So he was dictating to Stan. He was like, "Hey, this is what this face means, basically."
All right, that's enough to talk about bad about Stan Lee now. We can move on. Let's stay focused on Kirby. Stan Lee is my childhood because every cartoon this is brought to you by Stan Lee.
Yeah. Well, that's what he was. He was the Flavor Flav of comic books. He was the Flavor Flav.
He was like the, I don't want to say the carnival barker, but he was like the.
Well, Flavor Flav was the hype man.
He's the hype man.
Yeah, Stanley.
I mean, Flavor Flav did not drop 16 yards in any song. He just sat there, like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man, you gotta have Flavor Flav. Let's do Stan Lee with the big old clock. Get him some gold grill. Have him in the top hat. Flavor Stan, man. Flavor Lee. Flavor Lee. Anyways, yeah, Gore's on top of this, man. He knows.
Yeah.
He knows. I'm telling you, if I can find, I'm gonna find. I got a whole bunch of them, but I'm sure I don't got all of them. Because I'm kind of a Walt Simonson snob. Like, I like half of his stuff, and some of it I'm like, yeah. But I'm sorry about it, because it's like as my taste grows, I like mustard when I don't like. Used to not like mustard.
Right.
But even in this book, you will see where Simonson got a lot of his stuff. I'm not talking. I'm talking art. There's like moments in here. I'm like, wow, that looks just like a Simonson.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? It looks like a Kirby, and Simonson looks like a Kirby now. But,
right. So we don't have to go like, blow by blow, panel by panel, but we'll break down like basically what we did was we covered the first 5 issues because we wanted to kind of keep it tight. So we can go like issue by issue and just give a real quick synopsis of kind of what happened. So look at this. I went all fancy. I've got camera 2 all set up. Let's get rid of some brandy. So,
look at that. It's nice new guy's book.
Yeah, I read my floppies.
Look at the beauty of that old newsprint. Look at the color on that newsprint. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful.
That's part of the reason why I went with reading the old books is because
look at the color. I love the color on this too, but like it's so bright compared to that. This is like a neon version of it.
Exactly.
And that's the part that I like, right?
You like the color? Well, I mean,
I like the color too. I think it adds to it.
It's better line like reproduction for sure. So you're going to get more of the artwork coming through. So yeah, I mean, it opens up. The book opens introducing us to Orion and just the idea that there are 2 worlds. One's essentially heaven, one's essentially hell. And Orion lives in heaven with other new gods. We meet Light Ray.
What's that?
It's called.
I mean, I've read Apocalypse 5,000 times, so I can't forget that. But
let's talk about this beginning. Let's talk about this beginning here, folks.
Wait a second. Let's talk about the phrase New Genesis, by the way. Okay. You can't have a new.
How about
let's talk about his epilogue, okay?
That'd be
Let's talk about how he sets the table for the rest of this book, man. Okay? If I'm going to bash on Future State again, which I'm going to, this is the type of stuff they should have had. The beginning of this. The dialogue in here. The 5-cent words that he would use. His faux Shakespeare. that Kirby did.
Man,
It's unbelievable. I mean, come on. There came a time when the old gods died. There's your old gods there, Vic, that you were asking about. What happened to the old gods? They died. The brave died with the cunning. The noble perished, locked in battle with the unleashed evil. It was the last day for them. An ancient era was passing in fiery holocaust. And this is him going, up yours, Marvel. I just did Thor for so many years, and I'm sick of you. Okay, and then imagine that. Imagine this being Marvel book, man. Darkseid, I said this before. Darkseid could be in where he's supposed to be, and that's the Thanos of Marvel DCU.
That's where look, I already know everything about New Guys because we have like 6, 7 banging movies already.
Oops.
Yeah, you just throw in Masters of the Universe, and you got the actual New Gods book. So the final moment came with the fatal release of indescribable power, which tore the home of the old gods asunder, split it in great halves, and filled the universe with the blinding death flash of its destruction. This is Asgard, pal. This is Asgard.
It could be.
You know, put that down
No. The camera 2 thing wasn't working again.
Hmm.
Kept trying to refocus.
because it looks like in the epilogue, when it blows up, all the old gods are dying.
That's what it said.
Well, yeah, it's sad, but you know, it didn't say why they. Never mind. I need to leave.
They
that
battled. That's why they died, because they were fighting. They were battling, and they blew up, and the planet died. The planet blew up, and it made 2 planets. It made New Genesis, and it made Apocalypse. So good and evil was battling. The old gods were good and evil, and they were fighting so much it blew up their planet and made 2 planets.
Right. No.
And that's it.
Okay. So
And then it's
to
Stu.
Orion, first and foremost. Is he the most important person in this, or what?
It's his book.
They tried to make him the star. I mean, even like later issues, it's Orion of the New Gods is the title.
Yeah, it's an ensemble piece.
Does that contraption give him power, or what is it that he wears?
Oh.
No, it's just a
Did
gadget.
you read the book? Did you read these books? Did you study these books? Did you read them? It's like you can hear something or you can listen to something. You know what I mean?
Like you're talking to me, so let me put this over here because you know they consider this guy sacred, so they won't touch my stuff. And then he proceeds to kick their tails. I'm like, well, what was the whole point of the contraption? Is that how he flies, or what?
No, it's okay. So that's another thing. That's another way of setting the plate, man. Okay, we don't know Orion from nothing, but when they introduce him, right? He's those. Okay, so he says, "Thous he comes, the protector, wielder of the Astro Force." So that automatically goes, "Oh, that must be a big effing deal, man." Because you got to think. Previously, you had Thor, who was the wielder of Mjolnir or whatever it's called. So the Astro Force is a big deal. So perception is reality. So if you're perceiving like, oh, this Astro Force must be a big deal, even though throughout the book he's flying around and barely using anything, but it's just planting that seed. It's making you scared of Darkseid, even though he doesn't appear. It doesn't appear except for on the final page of this book. It's building it up.
What? No, I just assumed that the Astro Force was like his. I've been watching a lot of Black Clover lately. It's like his super magic spell or whatever. And whenever he uses it, he gets depleted of energy. He can't use it until he, I guess, rest or something. That's the way I read the Astro Force.
No, okay. If you look at it like old guys, when like Norse gods, Greek gods, all those gods, they're always the god of something. Right. They're the god of wine. They're the god of thunder, whatever. So this is basically like he's so BA because he's got the Astro Force. Like if you look at
the Astro Force is like
Light Ray,
weapons, right?
He's basically the god of war. Yeah, he's like that's the Thor hammer. That's basically what the Astro Force is. That's his new hammer. He just has this little like messed up Segway that he flies around on. That's cool. But like Light Ray is basically the god of light.
Yeah.
And then like High Father Zeus.
Or third issue.
But so that's basically what it is. So it's like the old gods. He's like, well, he was the god of war. She was the god of the hunt, the goddess of the hunt. And so that's basically what Astro Force is. That's his hammer. That's his specialty. But he's actually the god of war. Really, I consider him he's the Ares, I believe.
I don't know why that camera keeps jumping like that. That's really bugging me. That's why I'm not using it, but I would like to.
It's because it's tremoring.
There we go.
Tremoring by this conversation. Yeah, like big set. They put the
skis. So the contraption just helps to fly around. There's nothing special or powerful about that contraption, then, right?
I think it does. I think it allows him to tap into the Astro Force because he needs it later.
Well, he doesn't need to use the Astro Force, though, does he?
I know. He's got his own.
Okay.
They never really show you what the Astro Force is like. I don't know what they call it, a MacGuffin almost, like his own personal. Like, don't make me use the Astro Force, and he never uses it. You know,
he never uses it to the full extent.
It's the proverbial switch or whip. You know, like, don't make me use the belt on you, and then you're like, okay, I won't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when you, my mom or dad, they take out a wooden spoon, and they're like, ooh, it's this wooden spoon. You know.
So, in the first issue, Orion's mission is you get a lot of introduction, of course. So you get introduced to Orion, Light Ray, Metron, and his kind of
Mobius
chair that is kind of, he can be anywhere in time and space that he wants to be. They introduced Allfather.
I thought it was the High Father.
Or High Father.
Now, is the High Father, is he left over from the old gods? Because he's the only one that looks like he's aged.
Well, he's like the leader. He's like the wise old leader.
And I don't know if I'm getting ahead of the game here, but don't ever trust a mysterious hand that starts drawing on the wall. If movies and life has not taught you that much in life. So I already know something ain't right with that. But
okay, so here's one thing I always like to bring to people's attention, and a lot of people kind of poo-poo it, is that George Lucas owned a comic book store in the early 70s.
Really?
Yeah. And this stuff was published in 71. So here we have the wise old leader. We've got kind of the brash young hero. We've got another hero that's a little bit more, innocent. And then you've got the big bad guy with a dark side.
Well, the fact that he becomes
this guy.
Well, whatever. Lucas, that's great. Well,
everybody's influenced by all kinds of stuff, and Lucas is definitely influenced by, old pulps and movies and stuff like that too. So I'm not saying New Gods that he knocked off the New Gods, but I think the New Gods inspired some of his stuff on Star Wars. But anyway, the end of the issue wraps up with Orion rescuing this group of people off of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And they're humans from Earth, and he kind of returns them to Earth. And he has a battle with Calabac. And we get the.
This is what you're doing. Okay.
Well, no, I don't. Like I said, I don't want to give like a real blow by blow, but I just want to touch on what each issue is about.
Yeah, and the whole I'm gonna throw something through the portal to kill you guys when you get to the other side thing. Oh no, portal closes just in time. How many times have you seen that in the movie? TV show.
Huh?
So he's the first. He gets credit for that. The Kirby close, we'll call it.
I'd have to do my studying on that, but it might be.
I'll visit with Jack Kirby.
So yeah, I don't want to like discount anything that happened, but I just want to give a rundown of each one, just so we have a basis of, the events that unfolded.
Maybe we should do these one by one then, so we can give them the proper.
No, like I said, I don't want to give a full, page by page rundown of everything. I just want to give a flavor for what each issue was, and then we'll talk about kind of some of the broader topics.
Yeah, the second one wasn't really. I mean,
one thing I like about pretty much everything Kirby did in the Fourth World, every issue had a really cool double splash page like this, whether it was an establishing shot or action or that's a really cool shot.
He's explaining it to you, Jamie. He's explaining what's going on here. I think it would be better if we just talked about it instead of looking. I mean,
okay. Well, I want to give a little bit more of a visual flair. So go ahead and talk about it.
Well, I'm still thinking about issue 1 and what led up to it.
Okay.
You got to think about the fact that Darkseid was already on Earth, and when we meet with Orion, he's being called like we've never met Highfather Metron and stuff like that. We've seen, if you read the other books, the Jimmy Olsen book, and even Forever people that came before, like it was out. It's considered to be out before New Gods. That's where Darkseid and a lot of those guys first showed up.
You're introduced, right? And
so you get that, and then here, even though you can read the first issue on its own, there's like, it explains.
You're still coming in the middle of the story.
Right, it's coming in on the middle of the story, but it's still like you could read it on its own without knowing that.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it. I felt like
so it's good.
In the middle,
like you probably didn't know, right?
But I still felt like I was getting the full gist of everything, and I understood it all. I mean, even the whole test subject of taking 6 humans. Now, I didn't know there's some sort of pact, I guess. It's weird. I guess there's a pact between New Genesis and Apocalypse that they leave Earth alone, right? Is that what the deal was?
No, it's a pact because you'll probably read later. Okay, so the pact is, which it's actually a book later on. It's when New Gods actually starts picking up. It tells you all about it. See, since the old gods destroyed themselves and the planet, Apocalypse and New Genesis were still fighting, and then something happened that set it off to where Highfather, who at the time was still a warrior, he was still like, I'm a warrior, and he basically became like I don't know, Moses, basically.
Yeah.
He's basically Moses, okay?
Or Obi-Wan.
Well, I'd say Moses. Anyway, Obi-Wan is later. So anyway, and I'm sure that's what. So anyways, so he became more peaceful. He was peaceful afterwards. He wasn't like, I'm gonna kill everybody. And so then he decided to form a pact with Darkseid, who had recently came into power because, his machinations and all that stuff. Because Darkseid, one thing you do find out in these books, Darkseid is not he's a schemer. He's not I'm gonna rip you apart with my brother, my hands, brother. He wasn't, never. He is now, because that's the only thing people can understand. And then so they were like, hey, I don't want to fight anymore. And then of course Darkseid had a master plan. It's like, sure, we'll have a pact. And spoiler alert, let me tell you what the pact was. Huh?
Whenever has making a deal with evil worked?
Exactly. That's why Kirby uses everything. He puts it in here.
I was like, yeah, I'll play nice. As soon as I figure out how to get these powers to work, it's over.
Right. Basically, he was letting his stuff gestate, and he was just like, okay, I'll do this, and so
the thing that we kind of skipped
when the pact is broken, because when Darkseid goes to Earth, that breaks the pact.
Yeah.
So now war is anew, And that's where these start up. This is where we're picking up. So then Orion goes to Earth. He comes in and he finds these humans that I don't know if Desaad was working on them, but you got to remember, Desaad and Darkseid, they were on Earth messing with people already.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever was on Apocalypse is like, where's the big? Basically, when Orion goes over, he's like, "Where's the big dogs, man? I'm here to fight the big names. I'm here to fight Hulk Hogan and Macho Man, and you give me Buff Bagwell, and you know, he's got these chums he's dealing with. Even though Calabac later becomes a chump, this guy in here, he's actually a big deal. So they're fighting, but he's just thinking, I gotta get to Earth because it's his destiny. Now, here's the one thing I finally realized what the anti-life equation was when I was reading Forever People. So anti-life equation isn't death, okay? He's not killing people. What the anti-life equation, what he's trying to do is controlling people. So whereas God gave you free will, God gave you free will, okay? So you can go and mess up anything you want to mess up, just as long as you come back to him. You know what I'm saying? He gave you free will. Darkseid's looking for the anti-life equation, which is anti-free will. He doesn't want you doing anything but serving him. He doesn't want you to laugh or love or anything. Huh?
That's what I was going to say. It states that clearly in the first book that the life equation is choice, free will, and the anti-life equation is Darkseid trying to control everybody. Now, apparently, somebody on Earth has the anti-life equation stuck in their head, and they don't know about it.
Hold on, man. Which ends up being a sumo.
That would be appropriate.
That's Forever People. But yeah, that's what the anti-life equation is. I guess it's just me. For years, I thought it was like, oh, he's going to kill everybody. But it's not.
He just wants everybody to bow to him, kneel before Zod.
Oh, that's another thing. Okay, so Gore was saying how Jim Starlin admitted that got the idea of Thanos from Darkseid. Even in the Infinity Gauntlet, he's trying to appease death, and he gets the gauntlet with the. I could see that being so Darkseid, like, hey, I got the anti-life equation. Oh my goodness! So everything Marvel has. Hey, Kirby called. He wants all his stuff back, but hey, you know the best creators, the most genius creators, leave stuff for people to go, ooh. Because that's what Kirby did. Like Gore was saying, he was influenced by World War II experiences, and he read the Greek mythology and other science fiction writers of his generation, and that's the truth. And that's what Kirby did. Now, here's the one thing I want to contrast it with the Days creators. You take the same. So if a copy of a copy of a copy, it's just mush. You've seen Multiplicity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a Michael Keaton movie where he decides, hey, I'm going to clone myself so I can go have fun in my clone. Okay. So each clone he had, the first clone's fine. First clone's him, basically. Second clone, okay, so then the clone of the clone decides, I want to be free too. He clones himself. Then that one goes and clones himself. So finally you get a guy that eats paint, you know, and he's like, dude, Peppy, like, woo, you know, he's perfect. And so that's what happens with today's creators. Where Kirby was influenced by Greek mythology and all this, the people that were influenced by him, which I would say were the Walt Simonsons and up to the 90s, I think. And then you got people that were like, hey, we're kind of inspired by this, by proxy. And then today you get people that are just like inspired by Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And they're writing Wonder Woman like she's a Valley Girl or something. I've seen parallels between the future state. Let's look at this as a future state. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is basically what he did, because everything in this book, or the fourth world, DC took and was like, oh, this is because the creators seen the other great, John Byrne, Jerry Orwell, all those guys. Dan Jurgens, all of them, seen the goodness in the seeds that were planted, and they boom, 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 boom. They build on the foundation, strong foundation, and of course DC tears that down and then you get people that just, So as a future state book, I would buy each and every book of this. But to harp on the negative, I did pick up the latest future state, Wonder Woman and Flash, and the new Superman Imperious. I know I'm but out of the three, the Imperious Lex was pretty fun. It seemed like an actual Lex Luthor, that like he would do this, where the other two are just like, all right, I should have saved my money. But anyways, blah, you go ahead. I'm done.
So, yeah, you got something to say? Go ahead.
Yeah. Wow.
So
that's my last. I'm not talking about future state anymore. I promise.
So, with me as a Kirby fan, and I'm like you, Kirby was an acquired taste for me. Growing up, I didn't like it at all because everything looked too unrealistic to me. I liked realistic art. That even as a young kid, I remember the comics that I still remember having back then were Jim Starlin and George Perez and stuff like that. So approaching this as like, with some reverence. Okay, New Gods is supposed to be great. It's got groundbreaking ideas, classic Kirby artwork. Going into it and like it's already on a pedestal, and I start reading it, and I have to say, as a Kirby fan, it was a bit of a slog to get through the first 4 issues. And I think I count that to this is kind of his first experience of actually having to fully script the book. So I'm not expecting perfection from him from that standpoint.
Here's the thing.
I don't know.
He's writing and drawing 4 separate books.
I liked it. I didn't think it was a slog at all.
Okay.
I mean, once I got rolling, I was rolling. I mean,
so and just okay, so he's doing 4 titles, correct? Right. They are bi-monthly though, so
yeah,
he's doing 2 a month.
Can you do one?
No.
Can you do one, buddy? Can you do a page?
But I can see the people that would start reading this and not be able to get into it. I can understand that standpoint. I think, and you said you got through issue 4, you didn't get to issue 5.
Right.
Once I got to issue 5, it really turned around for me, and I count that to 2 things. The artistically, the most significant change was the switch from Vince Colletta to Mike Royer. And I'm not a Colletta hater. I understand the knocks against him, but I think he's a talented artist and inker himself. And I don't even really dislike him on Kirby stuff. But I think the first issue, art-wise, was better than the second, and I think it was a matter of he probably had more time. Kirby had more time, and Colletta had more time both to get it done, and then they started getting into it, and some things became a little bit more rote. But there seems like there was a certain amount of energy that was injected into issue 5 when Mike Royer started doing the inks. But I also think Kirby came back around story-wise, where he was dealing with the New Gods within a context of also having human counterparts as part of the story. He did a lot of stuff on Earth that wasn't all that super fantastic as far as the battles and things that were going on. I mean, he introduced concepts like Black Racer and stuff like that, but it was within the context of here's the Black Racer and he's on Earth. He's not on New Genesis or Apocalypse or something like that.
Well, actually, wasn't he just out in space? But
yeah, he was chasing Light Ray, and then he gets tricked by Metron because Metron is one of the dirty watchers. He's like the guy's like, oh yeah, I don't do anything, and then like, oh, look what I did, I saved you. One real quick about the Black Racer and the mother.
For that though, the one thing I would say about the first issues is that I like the characters they created and developed here because they're so different than anything else I've read, because they're just entirely. I mean, this whole wall. I mean, they're just different characters to me. for different designs. And it's funny, so like going through here, I'm like, I know some of these villains and characters and heroes have been duplicated in various cartoons since then that I've recognized. I'm like, oh, this is such a no. This is people. I guess were stealing from him, just like it was nobody's business.
It's inspired by. It isn't stealing.
Inspired
It's an homage. But I get on that with what you were saying is it's different because I think that's one of the reasons why it's. Yeah, there you go. Gordon Vidal says Metron is like an out of control Time Lord from Doctor Who. It's true. It is different. I feel that the Orion book or New Gods, all that's more Thor. That's more like Thor on Asgard and in space, where even though he's on Earth. And let's get on the Orion Gang real quick. One thing that was said about Kirby is he would draw a book and then come back to it and not remember what he drew the first. So he was like, brr, brr, brr. And I can tell you, the Orion Gang. Well, you got to think also the Inner Gang was around in the
previous books.
The
Olsen book, yeah, Jimmy Olsen book. So he was probably trying to set up. I mean, there's just so much stuff, so many ideas going on here. This is really an ensemble thing. You have Private Eye Detective, you have mobs, you have space monsters. I mean, literally in one of the books,
girl who's like super thirsty for Orion.
huh?
The one girl who's super thirsty for Orion.
Yeah. Well, she never. It's funny because that's so like like Jane Foster in the real. Oh no, I feel as it goes on, you can tell he's like, I don't want to have anything to do. I don't want to have anything to do with these people anymore. This Orion Gang's boring. And so because he changes everything as he goes along, there's a scene where he takes the Orion Gang to turn off the jammer because Darkseid has like a jamming effect. And that's some World War. So you got to shut up. That's some more stuff. And then he goes, all right, see you guys. And then he goes down into this portal that takes him to underwater. And just, it's crazy. Then it gets crazy. It gets bad. It's crazy after that. And I think that's where Kirby's like, all right, enough of this office building, these people in this room. I don't care. Exactly. And the one thing that drove me crazy, as much as I love Kirby, he probably hated it too. Every time he introduced these old farts, man, these Orion Gang, they had to like, well, I'm John Jugi, and I'm just a lowly, janitor. What am I doing here? What can I do?
Who did the lettering for this book?
The inkers did.
Okay, because I'm getting to, so he breaks to the thing. He's like, I'm gonna find the leader of the Deep Six, Shug. I'm like, Shug? Did they just kill Shug?
It'd been a cooler name.
I was like, well, that ain't Shug. Look, what's the brother? Well, I mean, he gave her brother skis, so I guess he put her brother in the ocean. And then I'm like, oh, that's Slig.
Slig, yeah.
Oh yeah, that was I don't know how to pronounce the name. Slig, Slag, whatever. And then they have the shark guy.
If it was,
let's get back to we're shooting all around. Okay, so when they introduce the Black Racer, okay, and Willie Walker, all right. I like the fact that they have different, like they have the criminal aspect, then they have the fallen veteran aspect, then they have the caring sister. And then you got the brother-in-law. It's kind of like, yeah, he's,
It's the husband.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
But he doesn't care as much as the sister, obviously. So, anyways, my thing about Black Racer is that there's a moment. I think it's whenever. So Orion. Wait, Black Racer gets after Sugar Man. Okay.
Sugar Man.
The best name in comic book. Sugar Man.
No, it's not. But
Sugar Man. Anyway, Black Racer
issues here.
Okay, so Black Racer's doing all this stuff. He's chasing him, and he puts his ski pole in the car and touches the bomb, and then we see the van fly up into space and blow up. Cut to the explosion where where Orion has the mother box, and he's saying that that the mother box did that. Okay? He's saying the mother box did it. So what I'm thinking is that Black Racer is the mother box hand. Black Racer is doing, because how could it be both the same thing unless I'm missing a thing here?
I tell you exactly how it can be the same thing. White people have been taking credit for black people's work for a long time.
Mother box has no skin tone, okay?
That's all I'm saying. He says, I'm hitting the anti-gravity thing, and there you go. And then later on, the white guy's like, yeah.
Ryan's like, uh-oh, there's a black guy. He's trying to take credit. I'm going to make sure I get the credit for this.
Like, 2 pages.
Why does it come, man?
And since I've started, Roy Wood has this routine, Roy Wood Jr., where he says, where he talks about black people ain't got, the black superhero, he can only handle stuff in his neighborhood because of all the crime in his neighborhood. Well, Luke Cage ain't left Harlem, right? How is it this dude goes from outer space and he gets zapped? All of a sudden, we got a ghetto and a hood, and he's there in the middle of crime, and all of a sudden, we got black people all around? I'm like, come on, man, really? I mean, really? And then we get Sugar Man. Sugar Man, really?
Well, this is 1971.
I did coach against a guy named Suge. Another coach like, what's his name? Or like Suge. He said, I'm a grown man. I ain't calling another grown man Suge. But I'm just like, really? So all of a sudden, black people show up as a crime-ridden neighborhood. Not to mention the whole, hey, I'll just stick my ski pole in here and hit the anti-gravity thing. Hey, I did that. I'm like, no, you didn't. We just read that the other guy did it.
You know, but he created Black Panther, so you gotta give him a pass on this, man. He gave the world Black Panther. You can't kill him for Sugar Man. And the way I look at Black Racer is, I don't look at it as like he's black because of his skin or whatever, his ethnicity. It's like Death Racer, you know. It's a nicer way of saying Death Racer.
Kirby intended,
but he's wearing blue, red, and yellow. So
title unrelated to Fourth World, but Carmine Infantino wanted a new character introduced in each issue because that's what he thought the readers wanted. I'd never heard that. That's a cool point.
No,
would Black Racer stand on his own?
I'll tell you the funny part to me though is like when I read, it says like the very source of all things that is ever present for you, blah blah blah. But basically, he talks about him. Looks like he's skiing amongst the stars or something like that. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh no, he has skis on.
Well, he created the Silver Surfer. How stupid is the Silver Surfer? He's surfing. You know, I mean, it's not as dumb as skis. I'll give you that.
I mean, the Silver Surfer is basically this light ray dude on a surfboard.
Hey, man.
Well,
that could have been more iconic than you know. Maybe if he had his own book, we'd be talking more about Black Racer over just being an ensemble piece.
I've only met one black person who skis a lot, and I really haven't met him because that's my sister's boyfriend. I still don't know how my sister ended up with him.
Well, just because you haven't met him don't mean there's other guys aren't out there skiing.
Yeah.
That's not good. You shouldn't pigeonhole people like that.
I went skiing once, but I'll say that great story for another time. But
all right, so okay, so
like this is what I call the slog, where Kirby's drawing pages and pages of them hanging out in the one dude's apartment. But we do get this one reveal here about Orion, that the fact that kind of
is that the first time we see that his face is jacked up?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the one thing. If we try to think about it, if we were reading it for the first time, like you'd be like, "Oh, what would that get you? Would that surprise you if you didn't see in a who's who something?"
Like 2 or 3 times to figure out what was going on, because it's like, oh, okay. I was like, he got forehead like Darkseid.
I just like how Darkseid is he's just hanging out, man. He ain't doing anything.
Here's another thirsty moment. What she say? This girl cracks me up. She's like, "Ooh, you look good in that." Mm-hmm.
He looks like a football player.
Yeah, so you look like a football player. You make that suit work, man.
Yeah. Look at those buns.
Oh,
I just
Ruby.
like if you look in the fourth panel on the previous page. He's dressed up and all of a sudden he's like emitting like God power and he's like is naked. They're probably like, oh man, he just ruined that clothes I got him. Oh, come on. Man,
You know,
Black Racer's thirsty for light ray.
a suit box.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of the stuff I complained about, I like the story of what's his name? Who the
Sugar Man?
Black Racer becomes?
Yeah, Willie.
Yeah, Willie. It's
And he's a fallen vet. So
the Black Racer, when he's not being the Black Racer, he goes back to being a
paraplegic or quadriplegic.
Willie.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I guess
Black Racer the whole time.
yeah. It's only when he's there he needs to kill somebody, or he's the Grim Reaper basically of the New Gods.
But yeah, well, he says that, doesn't he? He says that. Well, in the next one, when they kill,
Well, I'm just explaining to people that haven't read it. So,
huh?
I'm trying to explain it to the people that are listening that haven't read it. I'm sure anybody watching this has probably read it.
Because
What I like is at the end here. Well, we're not to that end yet. Okay, never mind.
The next issue where the new guy, one of the guys ends up dead, and the Highfather is talking about it. The Black Racer is there, like he has to usher somebody into death. And how is it that his family only shows up whenever or do they not show up when he's gone?
Yeah, they don't hear that stuff.
They only
No,
hear
because of the first one, they went out and let the neighbors, like, hey, the neighbors will check on them. Can you imagine that, being stuck in a house and your watchers are like, hey, we're leaving, we're gonna go party. If you hear anything, could you go check on my brother who can't move or speak?
if you hear anything from the guy who can't talk. Or
Yeah.
move. Yeah.
Or just burn it down. What are we doing? But I just like the end of the third issue when he pops up and then he does like a stare, like his eyes open wide.
Yeah.
And then you just see him like he's looking at this. He's got to kill somebody. That's what it is. He's like, ooh, no, he's got to kill somebody. So who's gonna die?
Oh, okay. Well,
That's
that
what
makes
happens.
sense then.
That's always a great trope. As I was like, it could be you. He could be coming for you.
Okay.
3D House of Voodoo.
All right, so I didn't get that panel until just now. Because, like, is it him, her, you? All right, now I get that panel.
No, it's you.
Oh, it's supposed to be me?
Yeah, you. Could be you.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so the next issue, and then you find out in issue 4 who it was.
Yeah.
They never show him do it, but you figure it out. Like I figured it out. I was like, oh, he had to go help this guy die.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I didn't figure
Okay, so
that
the
out.
beginning of issue 4. Let's talk about the Metron stuff first. So Kirby, obviously, as any creator, gets tired of doing the same garbage all the time. So he's like, I'm just gonna put this in here that I want to do. And this Isaac kid, spoiler alert, later on becomes like he goes crazy or something, and they have to kill him. So it's great. The little kid that's with Metron.
Trust me, I had future villain written all over Isak or whatever his name is.
Isak! I think it's Isaac.
I just know his case spelled backwards.
Isak.
I was just like, yeah, he has future villain written all. He has future mastermind written all over him. Like he's gonna become Darkseid's protege.
Yeah. So I think it's a cool way to introduce people, and then like going, oh wait, but it's like a intro where it's just like, hey, we're gonna introduce this kid, talk to Metron, get you to know Metron, but guess what? Someone died. And they're like, oh, someone died. You know, it's a big deal for when a new guy dies. That ends up being, what's his name? Seagrin? Or
Yeah.
Seagram?
Which I'm just like, see, first of all, as much as I like everything Herbie's done here, he needs to work on naming stuff. I guess he can't work on anything now.
See, he named it perfectly. It's the people that pronounce it that mess it up.
Oh, Seagram.
Like Seagrams. I call him Seagrams.
How are we going to be introduced to somebody who's dead with the name Grin in his name?
He's very happy. Seagrin? I don't know. His little outfit there is cool though. Like his head on the back, he looks all alien and stuff. That's what I like about Kirby. Weird stuff. And then they take it, and then of course the Orion Gang comes in, right? And it's like, of course, it helps to have a private detective with you. You know,
I didn't know Jamie made this issue.
What are you talking about?
The previous page. You see him there, Al?
What?
You see Jamie?
Right there.
Oh yeah, Frankenstein.
Ooh, comic books, good.
What?
Bad.
Toy Top 5 bad. No. Do your own channel. Leave my channel alone. All right, so yeah.
Did Darkseid have a hand in that murder or anything, or was he just there to witness it? I don't remember.
So I'm digging. We're blowing past the fact that like new guy Orion just like goes, Motorbox is taking Seagram's home, man. And then they just like the stuff's blowing up. It's going all Evil Dead on them, and these guys are like running for their lives.
And the police officers don't question anything.
Oh no, they're booking, man. They're like, I'm out of here. They're questioning them. They're like, hey, what's all this about? What? And then it comes in later. That's when Turpin comes, the terrible Turpin. He's like, like Kojak or something. He comes in, and they're buzzing.
Yep.
And then again, we see the Black Racer, and he comes up. Now, other people? Okay, so it says here, it's like, Casey, look up there. Do you see it? Like, I don't see anything but that fire. So what I'm wondering is, so normal people don't see him all the time. So they do see him. Like the guy sees him come out of the fire. So he might just be like a form that comes out of the, fire. So.
Yeah, he's very much just in the shadows at this point.
So then he goes home, and then Darkseid is just like a voyeur. He's just like, creepy. Creepy here. Yeah, like Darkseid. That's one thing about Darkseid. Like Gore Vidal says, is barely any emotion. He ain't doing jack. He's just sitting back, just like
he's the Bill Belichick of villains.
He's just lying. Well, Bill Belichick is the villain, so I don't know what you mean.
Darkseid is definitely a manipulator, though. He's like, well, you don't, what would happen if you did that?
That's me, or not? What's this guy, Victor Lanza or whatever his name? Aren't you waiting for him to just turn on somebody? I mean, sure, he threw a great punch. This issue, he threw a great punch, but the way he keeps questioning everything, I'm just waiting for him to like, we need to take matters in our own hands. Huh?
Yeah, the sooner we get rid of the Orion Gang, the better off I'll be.
Preach. But this is where they shine.
Yeah.
Hey, darling.
And this is where I'm like, what? I wasn't digging it.
I ran out of gas. Y'all want to help me?
Yeah. So they set up this scheme to check out this place that's got the jammers.
By the way. Cute girl still works to this day in comic books.
Well, that's the one thing that Vince Colletta's bringing to the table is that he always was able to do really women's faces really well. I wouldn't be surprised if he had drawn this himself as a ad job, but he always kind of beautified the girl for Kirby pretty considerably.
Yeah, it was okay. Yeah, right here. This page right here, right on there. Leave it there. They blow that dude away with Like that Victor Lanza goes in there, whatever that old dude is.
Yeah.
He's going in there acting like the
scared insurance man he was 3 seconds ago.
yeah, he's the talker. He's like, oh, and then this guy he's got a fishing hook. He's got a fishing line hooked to a gun.
Mhm.
And then he just pulls the trigger on them. And then, of course, you got to read this. It's like, Snakey ain't dead, but he is stiff, paralyzed, and our guns can get spookier than that.
Yeah,
That dude's dead, man.
He's dead. I mean, his eyes wide open. But yeah,
As Gore pointed out, the horror. There's also that sense of horror because you got to think Kirby did all those books in the early years. He was doing horror and romance and all that. And that's what this is about. This is the jack of all trades, pal. Jack Kirby, right there.
It's also crime too. It's got
well, I mean, come on.
What crime comics were big.
Goes without saying. I said everything. Jack of all trades. We gotta hey, don't forget. He'd be on Twitter like, hey, don't forget the stroke line.
Nobody drew black people like Jack Kirby. I got the quotes messed up, don't I?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Who drew that Green Arrow book that you have?
Neil Adams.
Neil Adams. Never mind. Neil Adams. Never mind. My bad. I get all y'all confused.
Well, this is one of my favorite part. Yeah, look at that Kirby design there, man. That's
the jammer that's jamming the signal that is kind of covering up Darkseid's presence.
My only issue with the jammer is on the next page.
He was blown up.
It looks really thin.
It's just on the wall.
Just a thin wall.
Yeah.
Unless Orion is really that strong, but they don't make it look too imposing.
All right, so this is probably the last time we see the R Gang actually matter in the book. So in any of the books, because this is where Kirby goes, you know what? Bye-bye, guys. Mm-hmm. I'm now taking this into the craziest, wackiest stuff.
We're going to take it back to basics.
Well, this is where he does the crossover with Todd McFarlane, right?
What? Spawn? Yeah. I'll get to that in a second. So one thing to note is price tag on the book went up from, here's issue 3, 15 center.
I noticed that.
Issue
What's
4,
the bigger issue?
25 center. Yeah, it's got the backup. It's a reprint of an old Sandman story from the Golden Age. But I mean, think about that from the consumer's point of view. And this is a thing I read up on where so one of the things that kind of sank the Fourth World, and well, it's not the only factor, but one of some, is the price point. And it's a thing that DC and Marvel were kind of battling back and forth on. The price on the comics had to go up. Everybody's used to paying 12 cents. And then in the end of, I want to say 1969, they switched to 15 cents, and that only lasted for about a year. And DC and Marvel worked out a price point that they said they're going to go up to 25 cents and increase the size of the books, include some back matter to make the value, put the value in it. And then Marvel backed off from that and went back to a 20-cent price point. So it left DC kind of hanging in a lurch where all their books were 25 cents and all Marvel books were 20 cents. So think of that.
So it's at number 10, they go back to 20 cents.
Yeah. So you think of it from the consumer standpoint of a little kid's got $1 to spend on comic books, right? So he can either get 4 DC books or he can get 5 Marvel books for his $1. So which is he going to buy? So that's
also DC was probably always considered the bigger deal.
Say that again.
I think DC was considered the bigger deal at the time, anyways. So that's why you're going to pay more for a DC book. As much as we love Marvel now, it's always kind of been like, but all I'm saying is I would love to pay 25 cents for a comic book now.
Well, and they're still making like bigger and bigger books. I'm reading 48 pages, 52 pages.
Well,
not really.
With with what they're doing with the future state stuff, they that's what they did. They put everything in a bigger book, charge you $7 or $8 for it with stories that really you didn't intend to buy.
But like in the one that you just showed, you got that Manhunter story.
Right.
For
Just a hater. Just a hater. You guys are old haters.
You got. Here, I'll put this back up.
Let's show the end of issue 4 where it's the cliffhanger, buddy. You forgot the cliffhanger.
I didn't show that.
You didn't show it. I know you didn't. You just flipped through it, and it's awesome. It's a cool cliffhanger. He goes from a city to like a regular house, someone's apartment, and under deep sea diving with tentacles, and it's a huge cliffhanger. What is it that Orion's seeing? You know, that's a good grade. You just get a close up of his eyes. Classic Kirby. What is that? What the heck is that? Oh, I know what that is. No, I don't know what that is.
And so then what's the payoff? Well,
I can't tell you. It doesn't show up until issue 6.
Yeah, and then Kirby cheats you a little bit because he does the old bait and switch. He switches up the scene.
It's just an ensemble piece. And
so
look at that.
You up there, kind of like with the TV shows when they get you to a certain scene that you're excited for, and then we're going to go to the backstory.
Game of Thrones.
Well, I think what my conjecture what happened is that he drew his other 3 titles, forgot what he was going to do, and thought of this cool visual that he wanted to draw, so he drew that as the opening of the book, and then went back, reread the last issue, and figured out, okay, where was I?
This is also it's called character building. Sorry, he's building Metron, and he's telling you about the history and he's building the environment. This is world building. Okay, he's world building. I read some of it. He was supposed to be Orion's son. Okay.
Yeah, I've collected it, and I've got those issues that kind of tease that, because Captain Victory ends up on a glider very similar to Orion's.
Yeah.
Okay, so issue 5, after the little epilogue of Metron going to, I look at those as like the beginning of a TV show where they used to have, where it's like, okay, this is the beginning, then you get the intro music, and then you go to the actual show.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Mm-hmm. So then we're introduced to Terrible Turpin.
Oh, hold on. Let's talk about this spread right here.
Oh, because Gore wants to talk about it now, because I want.
Well, to me, when I got to this page, I was like, after going through 4 issues of the Orion Gang, then I get this spread, and I'm like, okay, I'm back. You've got my attention now.
Oh, I finally see the image.
You see little Metron out there in the corner?
Oh, no, I'm talking about the dude strapped to this boulder.
Yeah.
Now, what that is the Promethean in the Promethean galaxy, the place of giants. I guess this guy used to be smaller, but he grew to try to escape. But then it kept growing with him.
And he's still alive and conscious, and just his time, the way time affects him is very slow. So you won't actually see him move because he's moving that slowly. But I thought it's interesting that he refers to him, I believe, as a celestial, which he would then Kirby would then carry over to Eternals.
They say Eternals and Celestials all the time in this book.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, a Forager calls Orion an Eternal. You're an Eternal. So, hey, Jack, we see you. We know you're cannibalizing yourself.
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on here in issue 5, isn't there?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It kind of there's a different kind of energy in issue 5 compared to issue 4.
This is the coolest thing ever. But I'll wait.
I mean,
if we have time,
you still get a smattering of normal people. You've got one of the dudes from the Orion Gang, and you've got what's the detective's name you were talking about him earlier?
Terrible Turpin.
Terrible Turpin.
Yeah. Here's the thing, guys. You got to remember, this is like soap opera 101. You can't have it all be on one headshot, one guy talking all the time. You got to like cut it up. Like, okay, no. I mean, just like I always thought, I feel like he was watching Dark Shadows when he was coming up with a lot of that stuff. because it was perfect. It fits. I mean, if you look at Orion and Barnabas Collins, they're kind of the same tortured motif going there. But that's just me. I think that's because I love that's like people going, well, Star Wars, they were Luke Skywalker and those guys were the terrorists and stuff. And it's like, okay, well, you're putting stuff what you want to see on that. So that's what I'm doing with that. So
I'd be the first to admit that comic books are very much soap opera.
Yeah.
Being somebody who's watched several seasons of Young and the Restless, I ain't seen it yet.
You haven't seen what? Young and the Restless?
You haven't seen the fact that it's
I
soap
can tell you
opera?
about Young and the Restless. Yeah.
You haven't seen the soap opera? Okay. The fact that it's cut into different characters that are having their own, like, it might not. This one might not be the whole like I'm in love with Orion every 2 seconds, but there's definitely conflict and stuff like that.
Okay.
I'm just showing here the contrast between this page was inked by Vince Colletta, this page was inked by Mike Royer, and it's showing just the Orion Gang and kind of the normal people.
Yeah, there's more of a thickness to his ink.
It's got more designy marks, like we see this kind of lightning bolt shaped shadow on the guy's head versus more realistic feathering on the hair and stuff like that that Colletta would have done.
The contrary guy, he's very contrary.
Like I said, I kind of knocked the first 4 issues just because I found them hard to get through, but I didn't think the inking was that bad. I did think that the energy and the artwork, like I said earlier, that issue 1 was better than probably everything through issue 4. So I think that
we totally skipped over Brick Hand.
Yeah, can we talk about
the guy with the brick hand?
We talk about how great this guy does art, and he does something like that and mails that in.
Well, that's coloring, I think. If they were,
which one was
anyway, I'd have to see the basic. But
issue
Brick Hand was great. I think he's my new forgotten Force World guy. Is Brick Hand. He's drawing 4 books at once. Vic, get off his back.
But you gotta be so literal.
Let's see what Gore's got to say here. Tom King's Mr. Miracle was a hit with many new readers who used hyperbole to describe how good it was, which surprised me, and yet most fans haven't been inspired to read the earlier Mr. Miracle stories. I think King's Mr. Miracle was good for what it was, but not as kind of an evolution or a growth of the character.
Yeah, to me that humanizes them too much. I don't think mythology shouldn't be humanized. I don't think. I think everybody's done that. Like the Neil Gaiman and all the other guys. These guys are supposed to be celestials, eternals, and all that. Even though Mr. Miracle would be the one that you do that because he's the one that escaped. He got away from it. Even though they took him back. Like he was always going to be the High Father, the new High Father, and stuff like that.
So, are you talking about inks? You talking about the difference between like this hair and this hair?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is that noise? Is that the computer or the thing shaking?
What noise?
It sounds like a mouse scratching on something.
That's him turning the pages.
No. It's consistent.
It's probably the hard drive from this other computer.
Oh, yeah.
Oops.
Anyway, so in issue number 5, we're introduced pretty much to the Deep Six. And there's some pretty gnarly folks. One guy can mutate. He has the power to mutate with one hand and then destroy that with the next hand. And it looks like something from the Batman 66 show with the big clam. But, Kirby makes it work, right?
Yeah, he had to have something interesting to have him trapped in.
That's Suge Knight, right? That's Suge?
Slig, yeah.
I'm calling him Suge.
They just killed Suge.
Here, let me get this off. These guys are so toyetic, it's unbelievable. Why there really wasn't a new guy, a Force World. There was. I got most of them.
You got the shark dude?
The toys. They don't have the shark dude. They don't have any of the Deep Six. They only had Mr. Miracle, Light Ray, Darkseid, and Metron and Orion. Oh, and Big Barda, which I could never get, which was probably the best Big Barda figure of all time.
If AT&T needs an influx of cash, Fourth World Cartoon Series is it.
I don't think they could do it, man. They wouldn't know what they're. That's why that movie that they're gonna try to make is just gonna be. It's gonna be a Marvel movie.
I mean,
where everybody's wearing Goodwill clothes.
They do a weekly cartoon series with the Fourth World. Put out all those characters and action figures. They make a killing.
What I'd like to see is Jim Henson do it. The Jim Henson, because I just watched I didn't just watch it, but I've seen the new Dark Crystals TV show. I wouldn't mind seeing a puppet type thing in there. I think that would make it look so crazy. Mm-hmm. You imagine like Kirby puppets? That would blow my mind. I think that would be something. Make it a Netflix series and just keep going. I already got the idea of like, if you go to Earth, do not do the Orion Gang. That's one thing.
I'd be
get right to the point.
Off Earth. I mean, I think Earth should always hang in the balances. That's what the highest stakes are. But
we're past that. See, that's the thing. We're so past that as a viewing, as viewing customers. I feel I don't have to make it. Oh, this is. You can have it a parallel, or you can make it like this is the Earth's substitute. You should to care about the people as to care about the people, the characters. I don't need to go to Earth. They did that in He-Man. They did that in Thor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to have the superpower being come to Earth and then be like, what is this crazy thing you call football? Oh, my goodness.
No, Gord, I'll take your advice on that, but something's going to have to happen in these next, 6 issues or so to make me actually like Orion. So,
yeah, that's the thing. Well, here's the thing to me. At first, Orion was the returning vet. You know, he just went away and seen war, and now he's back. But then as it gets to when he starts beating these dudes up, at the end, okay, let's get to that. He whips Suge Knight up, right? But as he's beating him up, he's beating Suge up. He starts he rips his helmet off, okay, and inside his helmet is Suge Knight's mother box. And he's like, I see that your counterpart mother box is where her guidance is sorely needed, near your head. It's like, oh, take that. It's like, but she'll protect you no more, you demon. Okay. He's like you, Suge Knight, she must be rendered inoperative. Listen how she voices her fear. And he's like punching it, and it's screaming. And he's like, it's sad. War is terrible and sad. When even such wondrous mechanisms must pay for the flaws in us, the pressure increases. She must cease to function or destruct. And then she blows up. Then he's laughing. The son of a bitch is laughing. He's like, she's gone, slit Suge Knight. When she couldn't serve you, your mother box chose to die. She loved you, Suge Knight. Ha, ha, ha.
See, I just need somebody to explain to this whole mother box thing, but maybe another time, because
I'll explain the mother box to you. It's right here.
Yeah,
I'm mother box.
I can't be the only person that named my phone mother box.
That is the mother box.
Mm-hmm.
In the future, it'll probably do the same things. It's already got GPS. They have GPS in here. You can talk to people. That's what it is. The mother box. I'm gonna put this over my face, and it'll change me one of these days.
Well, it will, because you can make yourself look like a cat.
Right. You already can. Yeah, you see your face on TikTok and stuff. And it's called Mother Box because it mothers you. It's like you get it. I think you get them when you're young, and so it raises you. Yeah, see? This is the thing, though. At the beginning of the book, I liked Orion, but then he became too much of it. When I first couple of issues, I was like, this guy's Rambo from First Blood. He's coming in and he's just hanging out, and then people are messing with him, and he just is like, yeah, you're right, I'm a piece of garbage, I'm going to kill you now. You know what I'm saying? And then Kirby was just like, yep, whatever. I'm gonna just start like it's like, whoa, you're becoming he's giving into that apocalypse side. That's what it is. He's always fighting to the apocalypse.
Victor has not gotten to issue 6 yet, or issue 7. It's issue 7.
Issue 1, Metron and Highfather are saying that he's not a.
Well, but we don't know what the significance of that is, so I don't want to spoil it for Victor. But there's a big reveal about Orion in issue 7.
Oh, hopefully, like the reveal they made about Ironheart the other day, kind of ticked me off.
We can talk about that later.
Yeah. Get off my lawn. That's it's everybody. It's like being a superhero. If everybody's super, then no one is. So if they keep making characters just be like, oh, she's this person's this, it's just like it's not special anymore. When you have one or two like in the that makes that character special. But when everybody's doing the same thing just to get ratings, it's just like, okay, all right,
Well, I will tell you one thing I read about the next ones. I read that 6 through 8 is Kirby's best artwork ever, or something along those lines.
Well, that's subjective. Our work is subjective.
I read it like 3 different places. I have 3 sources.
Oh, that means it's out of 3 witnesses.
At least you're checking the facts, which is good.
I know everybody got an opinion.
But here we go, folks. Let's wrap this up.
Let's go back and talk real briefly about something you kind of hit upon earlier, with like the difference between Orion and Light Ray. That Orion is the veteran, like the kid.
He's seen Jeff. Okay, so basically, imagine though. Well, if you read the future books, Orion's always been like, not to spoil anything, but he is the god of war, basically. And so he's seen stuff. So imagine like if you had a friend and you guys were like messing around, that's why you were. He goes to war. He comes back and you're like, and he's like, not anymore, pal. Like,
you mean like every war movie?
Well, I mean,
yeah.
So Kirby himself.
Sorry, it's a cliche. It's a trope, Vic. That's what it is. So.
Kirby himself was a veteran of World War II. He saw action. Mm-hmm. He wasn't the guy that was like on the back lines. He was on the front lines. So he experienced war. And you think about the time when this is being published in 1971, we were in the thick of the Vietnam War. And you had veterans coming home, and you had people that were at home that, had a totally different outlook on things compared to the soldiers that were coming back.
Yeah.
And I mean, Kirby, he played up both sides, because I think he saw kind of either interest or valid points on both sides, because whereas this kind of looks more at the war side, he was also doing Forever People, which the Forever People were very hippie, yeah.
Okay.
So and Mr. Miracle is kind of the guy in between. Like, I don't want to have anything to do with any of this. I'm just gonna go do magic.
Yeah, he's just kind of a performer.
I will say, I would like to see Orion kind of dialed back, because I know even in the Tom King book, he's like basically in the new dark side, and he's like, oh, you don't know. I would have liked to see more of like in the beginning of it, he. Like when he first changes his face, he was like, oh, I had to change it. He felt more like torn, like Barnabas Collins.
He used the word masquerade. He's living a masquerade.
Yeah. But then as it gets on, it's like, I don't care anymore. Let's just kill people. I prefer basically Cosmic Odyssey, where he's having fun killing all the Thangarians and stuff. I would like to see. I could see if they did a movie or a TV show, or in my dreams of dreams, Orion would be more likable and cooler if like he fought against the Berserker Fury. He didn't because it would scare him a little bit, like, oh, I'm going too far. That would make him more likable than like, hey, I just killed your mother box and she loved you. You know, just like up yours, and then you're like, whoa, that's a heel thing. He goes heel. He goes heel to where you're like, wait a minute, baby faces shouldn't be doing that. That's one thing about it went over the top a bit. And I don't remember reading the the other ones, which I'd have, but like I don't know if he comes back. I don't know if he comes back. But I think if they do a movie, which I hope they don't, because they'll mess it up unless they get the right people. People don't understand it. Right now they got someone that I don't even know if she even knows who Jack Kirby is. And I'm telling you, it's going to be the same old, hey, I'm Orion in street clothes, and this is Light Ray, and he's a bum on Earth. I bet you it's going to be the sent to Earth, and then they have to go and unlock. I think it's American Gods or something like that. They always do that. Like, oh, Terrible Turpin is Darkseid, or, you know, I think they did that in Final Crisis where he had Darkseid's mind was on Terrible Turpin, and he, you know, all this stuff. I don't think anybody understands the what was written in here. And then just like the Bible, no offense, guys, just like the Bible, it's been interpreted in many ways. So then you have this branch over here going, no, this is what this meant. And then you got these guys over here goes, no, you don't forget this person. They're important to this. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like that. So I don't think you're ever going to get like, we're not going to agree on what New Gods means or what. It doesn't. It was a fun thing. That's another thing when people sit around and they just like, no, this meant this, because I read that on the internet. Like, well, what he was saying here, this is about Vietnam, and then and it's just like, did he say that or did you read that? You know what I mean? It's all opinions. So
it didn't come to me until you mentioned it, so I didn't read that.
Yeah. What? I don't think that. Hey, real quick, you guys know about the Thunder Super 7's Thunder tank? They're
heard about
it. I know I'm going longer. It's a pre-order for the Thunder tank. It's $450.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I got one. I got it on eBay. I got a early, and I got it already.
Nice.
I got it sent to me already off eBay, so it's great. It was actually $500 because I had it, and then I had shipping and handling. But right here is the Thunder. Yeah, the guy promises it's but it doesn't say Super 7 anywhere. It just says Hot Wheels. So this is the greatest $500 I've ever spent. I love that. I don't think the figures are gonna fit in it.
You don't think so?
No. Once I shrink them down.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Dang, I'll be eating.
That hasn't came out yet. The actual Thunder tank is huge. It's bigger than my car. So, all right. What's the scenario? What's the?
We need to wrap this up. We've been going for an hour and a half. I think we've hammered the snot out of the New Gods. Any last thoughts or parting words?
I've said it all, my friend.
I'll give him a pass on Sugar Man and the Black Racer since he did do it.
It's 1970. Okay, you got to remember it's 1970.
It's so 70s too.
That's 60s, but yeah, that's 70s. And I tell you what, the fact that there's representation still is a good thing.
I'm just glad there's not more dialogue between black folks. Okay.
Okay, well, go read some Luke Cage books. I'm sure there's some Sugar Man and Luke Cage too. Those early Luke Cages, Sweet Christmas. Like, come on, man.
Well, he couldn't have
like Nightshade. Where's Nightshade from? Remember Nightshade? She was like in a bikini, and she had like big, her ponytails.
Yeah.
Was that? What was that from?
I remember the character. I don't remember where I saw her though.
I think I have a Marvel Universe handbook. That's what you got to get, Vic. Get those. Get the Who's Who's and get the Marvel Universe handbooks. You'll learn all about all the characters, and then you'll be like, "I'm gonna go walk into a river and breathe." It was too much. That's what I did when I was a kid, man. I love I love Who's Who's. I love those Marvel universes. Actually, I think I got the Marvel Universe Handbook of the Dead first. It was the one with Captain Marvel on the cover.
You know, I've got
I always loved.
I've got a binder of the second edition of Who's Who, which is just like loose pages.
Yeah, I didn't like those so much.
I was gonna ask if you wanted it. If you don't want it, I'm just gonna toss it.
Oh, I'll take them. I'll take those. I like those. I don't like them as much as. Okay.
All right.
He's like me. Yeah, I'll take it.
I'll take those. Those things are cool. I mean, it was unique. I remember going into All Star Comics and they had like the sheets binded up like wrapped, and you had to open it. And you didn't know who you were getting because it wasn't A to G.
Right, it was out of order.
Oh,
yeah. So you had your headliner, and then you had all the little people, and each picture was drawn by someone different.
Mm-hmm.
So does each member of the Orion Gang have their own?
Orion Gang. They've never been talked about again. Never.
No.
Those guys, our gang was gone, man. That was I wonder if because I haven't read the Return of the New Gods, which I don't remember who wrote it, but I know Don Newton, which has to be for something. Don Newton drew them. I wonder if they showed up in there because that was more Earthbound garbage.
It was?
Yeah, I remember him being more of a superhero.
Yeah.
Like I remember because his suit changed, Orion's suits changed. He became like he looked like Brainwave Jr. or something.
Yep.
And
all right.
We didn't talk WandaVision. No.
Next time on Comic Book Clobberin Time. All right, we'll wrap this up. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for Gore Vidal for hanging out with us. And
they'll watch later.
Go give it a try. New Gods.
Can I get your issues? The rest of your issues?
It's old good stuff. All right. Remember, J Hood Creative Channel, we remind you to keep your priorities straight. Faith, family, comic books. We'll see you next time.
Kirby.